I'm going to call the September 27th Rutherford County Schools work session to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Forgive me, I'm losing my voice. Are there any questions on number 4, approval of the agenda by the board? None. On number 5, approval of the consent agenda, does any board member have questions? There's a change I'd like to note under the non-faculty volunteer coaches. With our internet issues, the agenda has not been able to be updated as of this morning. There is an additional coach, Ben Lowell, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, Siegel High Bowling will be added. You'll see that reflected on Thursday night's agenda. No questions? We have no visitors. Number 7, introduction.
It's Thursday. She's going to be here Thursday.
Yes, that's right. And just so we know, Monica is with a K. So when she comes, we can make that edit.
Thank you. If it's all right with the board, I'd like to bring up Mr. Solomon to speak to us about our internet issues.
That Thursday, we came back up and we stayed running. And then this past Thursday, we had another hiccup for about an hour. Got them on the phone, they checked everything. By the time they checked everything appeared to be back up and running. And then on that Friday, this past Friday, we experienced the same thing with them. They checked everything on their end. During this time, we've made several phone calls to our vendors for the equipment that we own and had them double check all of our connections. AT&T has admitted to having issues on their end. And then today, we got back on the phone at 7:50 this morning and waited. Everything was running up until about 8:30ish again, and then it goes down. So today, and AT&T's been struggling with giving us what they call a root cause analysis, and I've got a document here, 6 pages from our previous outage of all the things that they've done. The thing that they mentioned today was they saw a potential malicious attack on our network. It was focusing at Blackman High School, and what it was just sending so many packets to it, so it wasn't using up our bandwidth, but it was sending so many packets to it that it was shutting their router down. All of our equipment that we had was blocking the traffic, so nothing was coming here, but from their end, as it was coming in, it was overloading their equipment. We escalated to the highest level that we can. With AT&T, I happened to get a phone number and name to the director, and I made sure that she keeps Mr. Spurlock and I informed. So what we did today to look at a solution was we changed the IP address at Blackman High School. Because what they do is they attack that address. So we changed the address, so that address is no longer there at Blackman High School. We made that change. The problem that sometimes we come into is after around 2:30 to 3 o'clock, all the traffic tends to fall back down. And so all that traffic that we were receiving, we don't get after that time. So changes were made today on their side to mitigate that issue. I have a call ready at 7:30 in the morning with them. They understand tomorrow is the state's verification testing day. They understand how important that is. So I have everyone on the phone to be ready for tomorrow. We have meeting with Mr. Spurlock and Mr. Buttery, Mr. Lee, and some others. We've met with another provider that provides an internet service to schools. We're getting pricing with them. They sent over an agreement for Mr. Buttery and I to look at. They informed me about 30 minutes before now that a typical lead time for install for this type of a circuit is about 120 to 150 days. They are working to see what they can do about escalating that for us. I do want you to know,
I'm sorry. The typical, we have the amount of traffic that can come into our school system is 10 gig. That's the amount of highways that we have coming in here. On a good day, typical day, we range anywhere from 5 gig to 6.5 gig. There will be times that we may see up to 7 gig, so about 70% of our capacity, but on a good day, it's not an issue that we're seeing with our bandwidth that we have purchased that comes into here as much as it is AT&T not being able to handle the amount of traffic that we send out and bring in. Mr. Spurlock, is there anything you want me to clarify?
How many school districts currently have AT&T?
So the current school districts on AT&T are Williamson County, Wilson County, and then us.
Everyone else is on DNA.
Who does Davidson County have?
Williamson County has AT&T.
Davidson County,
Davidson County has ENA,
ENA.
Education Networks of America.
That's right.
Is that the company that you guys have been having conversations with?
It is. There are some other providers out there, but basically what ENA does is they work off of like Comcast. So the connection would be through Comcast, but working with ENA they would be able to manage that. And so it'd be through ENA is the other provider. And again, we've gotten some pricing from them. As you know, we apply for E-rate, which is that we get 60% off of those circuits. So we're working with our E-rate consultant to see what we can do about switching out vendors in mid-year. It is time. It is time.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any questions?
Yes, sir.
How are we communicating this to the admin and to the teachers and letting them know what's going on? How are we updating?
I sent it to the principals. So I sent an email this morning to the principals, and Mr. Spurlock followed it up to the principals with another email.
Yeah, I've gotten a few emails from some teachers, and it just sounds like they're not getting the communication, so.
You know,
So, and there's a,
let me jump in there.
Okay.
My email said to follow up with the teachers to let them know. Now, I think I sent mine maybe a little bit before yours, perhaps.
and the other thing, Mr. Young, is if their internet, if their phone was connected to the internet and their internet was down, and the principal had forwarded that on, they wouldn't have gotten it. So if, you know, if they're off the network, then they would have gotten their email, but.
That was the only way off of the network was the only way they could, or either that or through, you know, a PA or something.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Solomon, how long has it been since we updated the bandwidth?
When did the first
Few years,
testing debacle?
we had 5 gig as an internet pipe, and then we upgraded to 10 gig
4 or 5 years?
4 or 5 years ago. And our bandwidth really, you have approved some purchases of a new firewall for our purposes and a content filter that allows us to keep good traffic in, bad traffic out. And so for bandwidth, it keeps us within that range without exceeding or getting up to even a 90% of our capacity.
Good luck tomorrow.
I do want to assure you we are doing everything in our power. Escalating, we have our internal people checking any piece of our equipment, because the last thing we want to hear is, oh no, there is this piece of equipment. So we're checking all that, and I'll keep Mr. Spurlock informed, but we're doing everything we can.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Spurlock? Is there a Plan B for tomorrow for the state verification?
Yeah, we're going to cross both fingers.
Moving on, Board, number 9, item number 9 on your agenda is going to be removed. Again, unfortunately, due to internet issues, we were unable to update that agenda. You'll find that item under financials. Item number 2 is where you'll find that. Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Item number 8.
Yeah, number 8 is, and I'm going to let Ms. Kozabowski come up. It's a reclassification, quite frankly, of a position where normally work with special ed. As my understanding, they'll be working with both gen ed and special ed. And this is found on tab 2, and it's for information only.
Yeah, that is correct. So we have one behavior specialist, if you will, that is more of a leadership role behavior specialist, and it is specifically special ed related. We also have an RTIB, general education specialist. RTIB is being changed to MTSS, multi-tiered systems of support. And so this brings general ed and special ed working together for the benefit of kids no matter what or how they're served.
I was just going to clarify, she is currently a BCBA, which is a certification, but it's not a teacher certification.
Is there any change in the contract on this? It's still 11 months.
Thank you. Moving on, item number 10.
All right, item number 10, Title 1D, Virtual Driver Interactive, found on tab 3. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment, a Title 1D state-identified delinquent facility located in Rutherford County, will be purchasing a full cab virtual trainer for Virtual Driver Interactive. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Facility will use the virtual driving cab as a supplemental tool for high school age students who are taking driver's ed or have a desire to learn driving basics. Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Center has identified the need for this purchase, and the TDDOE required fiscal year 22 neglected delinquent facility needs assessment as priority to continue to enhance vocational needs at their facility. A full cab trainer equipped virtual driving essentials would be $12,400 plus shipping and handling of $680 for a total cost of $13,080. These students or these children that are in this residential, some are our students and some of them are students that's placed here. Anytime, just like with our JDC, when there's a placement, they become our students. Of course, when 20 days kick in, then we actually get funding for those. So this equipment we purchased by us, and we have a choice. We cannot purchase the equipment and hire teachers, and you can do the math. It's a much cheaper to buy this equipment.
Any questions?
Well, I had a question, just because I had to Google what this was, because I did not know what this was, and I did not realize that we partnered with them. And it made me think, how many other groups and entities do we partner with, like Genesis, Rutherford Academy? Just, it would be helpful to me if maybe we could have them, if someone could like write them all down and like give them to us, let them know.
we can
Because
do
there's
that.
a lot of agencies, and they may increase with the monies that we've received for some of these social and emotional programs. So I would like to have it all in one place, the different groups, because I don't know, are we still doing
We do.
Rutherford Academy or not? I don't know.
We do. We have partnerships with all those. What we can do is simply get an agreement, I mean, a list of all that we partner with and provide it to everyone.
What's different with them is they're identified by the State Department, so it's not necessarily an agreement we have with anybody. This is just not like, but it's similar to the Juvenile Detention Center. And so that this is a facility that students, either by their parents or by the Juvenile Detention Center themselves, can be placed in. And so it's part of Title I, not necessarily we partner with, but it's a service that we have to
Service
provide
we
based on our
provide
students.
because we're the only one that has.
Gotcha, okay.
But we can still get the partnership thing.
Great question. Any other questions?
I think, 14 to 16 we've had?
Traditionally, of our own that would be zoned Rutherford County students, it's less than a handful. They are at max capacity at 45. But again, that can be statewide placements.
And I'm assuming this statement here, neglected delinquent facility needs assessment, that's when the state comes in and identifies what we have and what we don't have and what.
Right. It's just like our other Title I schools that have to fill out a needs assessment plan. They get this funding just as a Title I school would.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, number 11.
All right, it's the same thing found on tab 4, Cedar Grove Residential Treatment Center, a Title I-D state identified delinquent facility located in Rutherford County, will be purchasing digital library 6 through 12 site license, enhanced CTE site license, professional development for Edgenuity. Cedar Grove Residential will use Edgenuity to supplement middle and high school content for math, ELA, science, social studies, world languages, CTE pathways. Cedar Grove Residential has identified the need for the purchase in their TDOE required fiscal year 22 neglected and delinquent facility needs assessment as a priority to increase student achievement in the core curriculum classes through professional development and student resources. The digital library 6 through 12 site license would be $8,500. The digital library CTE license and professional development will be $6,970.47 for a total cost of $15,470.47.
Any questions? Number 12.
All right, curriculum instruction department would like to allocate $6,000 of general purpose funds to support 15 educator preparation providers, EPP mentors, at 8 of our high schools. The purpose of this mentorship is to provide building level support for the EPP participants enrolled in the CTE cohort number 3. These mentors are responsible for attending EPP mentor and TDOE Vision of Excellent instructional training, conducting biweekly mentor-mentee meetings, and completing mentor reflection forms, engaging in all mentor dialogues included in the Southern Regional Board's Teaching to Lead curriculum, and completing yearly exit survey assessments of their mentees. The allocations are as follows. Each mentor receives $400 stipend for completing all required tasks to provide ongoing support of their EPP mentee. Funds will be dispersed in 2 distributions of $200 each at the end of each of the service. The next part, Curriculum Instruction Department would like to allocate $7,200 of general purpose funds to support 18 educator preparation provider mentors at 13 of our middle and high schools. The purpose of this mentorship is to provide building level support for EPP participants enrolled in Math and Science Cohort 1. These mentors are responsible for attending EPP mentor training, conducting bi-weekly mentor-mentee meetings, and completing mentor reflection forms, engaging in all mentor dialogues included in the Southern Regional Board's SMART curriculum, and completing yearly exit survey assessments of mentees. The allocation is as follows. Each mentor receives $400 stipend for completing all the required tasks provided for ongoing support of their EPP mentee. Funds will be dispersed in two distributions of $200 each at the end of each year of service. How many do we have in our science and math EPP?
We have 17.
17?
Any questions? Okay, number 13, financial matters.
All right, number 15, Financial Matters, Fund 141, General Purpose School Budget Amendment to budget for revenue expenditures for fiscal year 21-22 in the Safe Schools Grant. This amendment increases budgeted Fund 141 revenue and expenditures to recognize the awarded amount for fiscal year 2021-2022 in the Safe School Grant. This reflects the grant award that was approved by the State Department of Education. This year's award is in the amount of $909,209. Mr. Lee, can you kind of give us a little overview how we're going to be spending those
Yes,
funds?
sir. Sorry. The vast majority of the funds will be implementing the third year of our camera DVD program that gets all our schools up to date with the security cameras. Through the Safe Schools Grant that Mr. Krim has been able, and allocations through our department, we've taken this from a 5 to 7 year program that we're going to complete in just about 3 years. So it gets all of our schools up to date DVDs, and that's going to be the bulk of it. And he's also going to be looking to provide additional radios that we weren't provided through the county, through the truncated radio systems that we have now, and expand that service to the schools. So a large majority of it will be, then there's some smaller portions that we go through, but the bulk of it will be DVD, camera, completion of this project, and just went blank.
Tell me a little bit about the camera in itself. It's just not, I mean, it's a specialty type camera.
Yes, we've been able to reduce the number of cameras. When we started looking at this program 3 to 4 years ago, it came to light that even though we've been updating our cameras periodically, a lot of our high schools were partnering with the technology department, going 1-to-1. They would buy one, we would buy one, which gave them 2. The problem was, as we expanded and grew and added more cameras, the DVD, DVRs that we had, a lot of our high schools had 3 or 4 DVRs to be able to record 30 days worth of data. That gave us time that if there was an incident, we had time to go back and save that information from that camera. As technology changed, we were adding and upgrading our cameras, but the DVRs that was recording everything wasn't being upgraded. And we were beginning to have issues with losing data. So we made it a priority to drop back from the cameras temporarily to go back and get all our DVDs and DVRs upgraded. Now most high schools, even our largest, would have 2. Since that time, we've upgraded to smart cameras. There's some more intellectual cameras that we have in strategic places now that allow us to do different things. But we've made it a focus for all of our schools to have the same technology. And doing that has taken a large sum of money, but it was something that we all felt was important for our students and our faculty to be able to get us to. It's like the electronic locks that we now have on the entrances now that our badges work. It was in conjunction with that, so that they actually can integrate with each other. And we're working now on some additional technology that we've been able to apply at Plainview that we're hope to be able to bring y'all up to speed on in the next month or two, that we would like to go forward in future schools and then begin to figure out how we go backwards and pick up the others. But it's been a very good program. We no longer lose data when we have an incident. We have good, clear video that can be used by our sheriff's department and by our administrators to identify who these students are. And we hope to, in the next few years, just continue this technology to make our campuses even safer.
Is there any particular type of cameras that we put on entrances of our, what is it, LPZ or Z? What's the name of the pan, tilt, and all that stuff?
They're the analytical camera. I think that's the one you're talking about. It allows us to, they have facial recognition technology. They have some other technology that allows us to, as we move forward, if we were to have someone that, let's say, was banned from Riverdale, and they showed up at Oakland, that camera at that school would identify them and alert the administrators and the SROs that this person has been banned from another campus or from maybe by the system altogether. And that's what I'm saying, this technology is ever evolving, and we're able to, now that we've got these cameras in place, we're able to take advantage of that, and we're beginning to utilize some of that information.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
All right, number 2, amendment to budget for 1 additional full-time custodian for the new Laverne Middle Annex and 1 full-time teacher and EA position for the new Plainview Elementary additional classroom, which is the VBK that was taken off in the front. Okay, additional classroom supplies that was provided for by donation from Nissan, as well as additional PRN nurse funding and contract LPN nurse funding. This amendment budgets for 1 additional full-time custodian position to clean the new Laverne Middle Annex that will open in October of 2021. We got a ribbon cutting day on that, or date? We do? Officially the 21st? Okay. Or potentially, okay. 1 teacher and EA position to staff the Plainview Elementary Pre-K program was recently awarded grant funding by the state. Additionally, STEM instructional supplies at all 3 Rutherford County schools. Lastly, this amendment budgets for additional 2,000 hours of school registered nurse PRN pay, along with additional funding for contracted services for 3 contracted licensed practical nurse for a 3-month time period to assist with current increased workload of school nursing brought about by the Delta variant of COVID-19. It should be noted that one of the requested total expenditure increases of $328,069 is the proposed budget amendment. The recurring payroll-related requests total to $129,259, and this amount is further reduced by a recurring state pre-K grant that totals $88,705 this fiscal year. Funding for the part of the proposed amendment that is not provided by the grant or donation funds will be derived from $214,364 from indirect costs from both ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 funds.
Any questions? Okay, number 3.
All right, number 3, addendum to substitute teacher contract with Higher Thinking, Inc., Advantage XP. The proposed contract addendum will increase the daily pay and bill rate for substitutes in hard-to-fill schools by $10 per day and will begin with the passage of this addendum and stay in effect through fiscal year 21-22 school year. The hard-to-fill schools for this daily increase are Laverne High, Laverne Middle, Roy Waldron, Smyrna Middle, Laverne Lake, and Cedar Grove. I would like to add that these are the most difficult. Every school is facing difficult ability to fill. These are the most difficult ones.
Any questions?
How much do we, I guess this says increase it by $10 per day. What are they getting right now?
If they are non-certified, then they're currently getting 85, and then if they're certified, they're currently getting 95.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Number 14.
All right, number 14, Facilities, tab 6. This is a request from Blackman Middle School to install an irrigation system. Principal Amy Conifer Marlin has requested to allow the softball team to add irrigation to the playing field. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, next.
All right, request from Blackman Middle School to install concrete for softball. Principal Amy Conifer Marlin has made the request to allow the installation of a 76 by 16 concrete slab for a batting cage. This request is at no cost to the board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed this request and recommends approval.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay. Next item.
All right, number 7 is information. It says, request to allow Binkley Garcia to submit Plainview Elementary to the TSBA for design review. The TSBA recognizes architectural firms for their excellence in design. In accordance with TSBA policy, any school building that was or will be occupied before November the 1st of the current year or 3 years prior to November 1st of the current year is eligible for the reward. School of the Year awards are granted in 4 categories, including new construction of elementary, middle, and high schools, and renovation. Engineering and Construction requests approval for Binkley Garcia to submit Plainview Elementary to the TSBA for this year's review.
Thank you. Any questions?
I don't know how it couldn't win an award.
Right.
Beautiful
Nice.
elementary school I've ever seen in my entire
Yes.
life.
Agreed.
Beautiful. Okay.
All right, the next one is a request from Jerry Butler Builders in Sundale Subdivision. During the design review by the town of Smyrna for plans approval, the Sundale Subdivision, a sidewalk to a crosswalk on Rock Fork's middle and elementary campus was requested. Engineering Construction has worked with Mr. Butler's representatives and the town of Smyrna on this request. Based on the drawing submitted, we request the approval for the sidewalk installation. And there happens to be a stop sign there, Dr. Sullivan. Crosswalk.
Yes, sir. This is being borne by Mr. Butler.
That's always good.
Yeah. Any questions? Okay. Number 15. Insurance update.
Yes, on Thursday, Doug is going to be giving us the updated forms that we had last Thursday in our meeting, and then there'll be some other items in that packet.
Thank you. Number 16, director's update.
Yeah, just a couple of things. First of all, we still haven't received our AMOs. Those are going to be worked on. We've been meeting with the State Department, who's been meeting with the department, the State Board, and talking to the governor's office. We anticipate getting this. It's going to be going to the State Board on the 28th. As soon as we get those information, we'll provide that obviously to our principals and teachers, but we're working on what we think is going to occur, but however, we don't know at this time. But what we're hearing currently is none of the 2020, 2021 data will be used to determine the AMOs. Now that can change. Right now, that's what we're hearing. Second thing, in October, the first meeting in October, we'll be bringing forward a rezoning proposal for Rockville back to to Riverdale is for the eighth graders that are currently, some of the eighth graders that are currently at Christiana Middle. One of the things we looked at, of course, we looked at the freshman class of Rockville over the last several years, 3 years, and we looked at the current freshman class at Riverdale. So we don't want to put too many in there. However, we're gonna make a little dent. It's still not going to be where we need to be in terms of reducing that enrollment at Rockville.
Thank you. Number 17, I've asked Ms. Maxwell to serve as our TLN for the board. Ms. Maxwell, do you have anything this evening?
Yes, I'm going to talk about what's going on with the 3 lawsuits that were filed in Williamson, Knox County, and Shelby County, and how the executive order is supposed to expire on the 5th. So I'm going to be watching that very closely to see what happens there. So.
Perfect. So will you give us an update on Thursday?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you. Number 18 is the federal. I am not doing that any longer, and I'm working with board members trying to make communications to see who would be willing to serve in that capacity. So hopefully by Thursday night we'll get an update. Number 19, general discussion. Any discussion with the board? Okay, seeing none. Mr. Spurlock, do we have an executive session
Yes.
this evening?
Do you want it in here? We can do it here. I think in here we got more room.
Okay. Then board members, if you'd stick around for an executive session. No other business, we're adjourned.